Welcome back, and today we're going to look at the brand new Kizer Militaw. This right here is a Jonathan Styles design, and man, has he been busy. He's got tons of designs out there now, several from Kizer, one from Kansept that I know of, and even has a couple of fixed blades too. This one has a nice classic drop point blade, beautiful stonewash finish on it. I love that top swedge. It thins out that tip, giving you a nice piercing tip there. Now the tip does sit a little bit above the center line of that pivot, so that just means it's going to have a little bit more belly than I usually like, but not a big deal. You do have some jimping here, but it's not really functional jimping for the top right here. It's more for the front flipper. You have a sharpening choil that clears the plunge, but you probably only have about one sharpening before it starts to widen up back there. However, you can widen that yourself because this has an internal stop pin, so you don't have to worry about coming in contact with that stop pin or anything. I don't know if I said it, but it's an S35 VN, which is a good steel, and Kizer usually does a pretty good job with it. The high flat grind on this comes down fairly thin back here at around 14 to 15 thousandths behind the edge, so it should perform pretty well. Let's find out. The knife came with a really good edge out of box and was slicing very well. It's got a decently thin behind the edge, thickness to the geometry of that blade, and the high flat grind is cutting like a dream. And of course, being this is light duty cutting, it's very comfortable with those contoured scales. Let's just hope it lasts like this throughout. But I've noticed Kizer's S35 VN has done pretty good. It's not, the best S35 I've ever tested, but it's about on par with most S35 VN that I test. But yeah, slicing great. That higher tip on the drop point hasn't really caused any issues for the length of cuts I'm making. Could be a problem with some very long cuts of problems just sliding out of the cut, but not so far. So far, so good. Still screaming sharp. Now we're going to test the ergos and see how this edge wants to bite into this piece of pine. And it probably would have helped if I had some sort of corner to any of the edges on this stick, because it was kind of hard to start, a curl to the wood or even get it to bite. Once I got my rhythm in there, it was performing very nicely. Excellent blade shape for this. The contour titanium scales were super comfortable, and in that hammer grip, I was able to get a lot of pressure into that stick, especially whenever I lifted it up like that. So yeah, no hot spots to speak of. Very enjoyable to use as well. Because of that higher tip, you have more belly, so I'm using the actual belly to do drag cuts instead of using that tip. And I didn't put enough pressure at that last piece. It wasn't anything with the blade. Still performing nicely. That deeper belly to this knife is going to help it perform very well in all these tasks on a flat cutting surface, because I'm actually able to start the cut pushing with that belly into what I'm cutting. And yeah, it's blasting through all the materials nicely. The edge feels like it has a decent bit of bite to it. And once I get to the denim, I can really feel that aggression to the edge. Very nice. It's blasting through this, no problem whatsoever. And the edge still feels like it's still ready to go for a lot more. So hopefully when we get to the sisal rope, it'll still be performing as good. Now to the 1/2-inch twisted sisal rope, and right away it's popping the rope with minimal downward force into it. The belly is making this a lot easier. It's comfortable in the pinch grip holding it. And yeah, like I said, that edge still has a good bit of aggression. It's not taking a whole lot of effort, and it's not destroying my hands like a knife that either has no bite or just isn't sharp. But Kizer usually does a great job with their sharpening, sending them out very sharp. This one was no exception. It was moving through the rope rather quickly, and before we end up running out of rope, we end up making, I think, 55 cuts in total, and I definitely could have done more. That's just when I ran out. But yeah, overall, my experience with the knife, it performed really nicely. It was comfortable while doing so, and it was enjoyable as well. I'll probably sharpen this one up once I'm done with this, and it'll be ready to go again. All right, now let's take a look at the deployment and the action. Like I said, you have a blade hole that's accessible on both sides, and a front flipper that sits up a little bit above the front part of that titanium scale right there. Excellent reverse flicker. This one has a well-tuned detent. You can thumb flick it. I can slow roll it. You can spotty drop it, and then come to that front flipper. It does have jimping there, and they do have enough traction on it to get a nice flip. You can roll it. Can you top? Yeah, you can do the reach around as well. Like I said, nice and smooth on the closure. It's very smooth as well. One thing that I did notice is that my pivot kept backing out, so I put a little bit of blue Loctite on it and haven't had that issue again. Now let's take a look at the handle scales. You have contour titanium scales that are very well done. They softened all the edges. And then you have this industrial looking inlay of, I think this black canvas micarta. It might be green, but I think it's black. Offers a good bit of traction right there in the middle. And, you know, some people love the extra hardware like that. Like I said, it gives it an industrial flair. I like the way it's done. It's different. No gaps anywhere. Very tight fitment. I can't tell where the transition line is at all on any parts of that, which is awesome. And I like how you can kind of see it on the back side of, the front and back side of the knife. This has all T8 hardware. Very nice and crisp hardware at that. It does have a 3D mill titanium pocket clip. However, unfortunately, it's only for right-handed tip-up carry, which is a real bummer. I don't know why you'd want to exclude that part of the market. Your blade is perfectly centered. The weight on the knife feels nice and lightweight. You have internal milling on the titanium on the top and bottom, and you have all this milled out. So it did a good job of reducing weight and balancing the knife out right there in that choil. Check it out first in grams. 110.5 grams or 3.897 ounces. Awesome. You have flow-through construction, 2 standoffs in the back, so you could easily blow this out with compressed air, maybe wipe it out with a Q-tip. Take a look at the lockup. It's sitting at around, I'd say 30 or 40%. Bank vault, I have no play in any direction whatsoever. Very tight lockup. Access to the lock bar is outstanding because this comes down, the show side scale comes down lower than the lock bar, and they got this nice soft chamfer on the lock bar, so it's very comfortable to get to. Easy to push over. Love that. Now for some quick size comparisons, we have the Kizer Brat and the Kizer Veritas. I kept comparing it to the Veritas, even though they have a lot of differences to them. Next, the Ontario Rat Model 1 and 2. Lastly, we have the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3. All right, now from a nitpicks and complaints, maybe open up that sharpening choil a little bit to give us a little bit more sharpening life. However, I could do that myself if I need to. Maybe Loctite the pivot, being that this one kept walking on me, but we might have gotten these, before they were completely tuned in. And also, I think they really missed a mark by not having this tip for a left-handed carry as well, so you're not secluding that part of the market. However, at the price tag, I think these are like 160 bucks. Do I recommend it? Yes. I think it's an awesome knife. It was pretty darn comfortable the entire time I was using it. It has beautiful action. I think it looks nice. It's different looking. And, if you're trying to decide between the two, that's a very tough choice. There's a pretty decent size. Like if you go butt to butt, you have a good bit longer knife in the Militaw. You have a lot of extensive milling here, and this one is reversible on the pocket clip, so that's huge. Both of them, they both cut about the same. Even though this one has a full flat ground blade, this one has about the same height in the grind, or close to it. So I felt they performed about the same, but they're both very, very well done knives. Both attractive knives in their own right. I do find that the front flipper works a little bit better on the Militaw than the Veritas, but I'm not really a front flipper fan, so It's not something I do all that often, and I do like this forward choke up spot on the Veritas a little bit more as well. So there you go. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.